Hello everyone. Hello Zoe. This is just a quick overview of 4.6. So in 4.6, the biggest thing that we had talked about was the associative property of multiplication and what the associative property of multiplication is. So when you look down here at this particular problem, you're going to see that you're multiplying with three numbers. When you see three numbers, that's going to be a huge indicator that we're talking about the associative property of multiplication in comparison to our other properties. So if you look at this, 2 plus 3 plus 4, the things you're going to notice is that the 2 and the 3 are in parentheses. A lot of times we refer to these parentheses as the brackets. And then outside of the brackets is the plus 4. So in a typical problem, when you are working with multiple numbers, you have to do what's inside the brackets first. This is kind of like the first math that you do, and then you move outside of the bracket. So what the associative property states is that you can replace the numbers in the same order, which means the 2 would be first, the 3 would be second, and then of course the 4 would be last. But instead of the 2 and the 3 being inside the bracket, you can actually move your parentheses to include the other numbers. So you're not moving any of the numbers, you're just moving the brackets, which is the reason why they talk about this being like the regrouping property as well. So to solve something like this, you would basically say, all right, well, 2 times 3 times 4. Well, I know that 3 times 4 would be 12. I'm trying to multiply that by 2. And that's kind of higher math for us right now because we don't usually multiply with more than one number or more than one digit. To where in this particular problem, since we've regrouped the numbers, we can say 2 times 3 is 6, and then we can multiply our 6 times 4. And this isn't a more appropriate problem for third grade, which in course would be 24. If we did solve this, the 2 times 12, we would still get 24, which is the reason why 24 equals 24. So when you work through the page, it's going to ask you to look at this array, and it's basically showing you that we have 3 times 2 times 2. So here's a picture. So in this particular problem, it says each car on the roller coaster has 2 rows of seats. So there's your 2 rows of seats. And then each row has 2 seats. So there's your 1 and here's your 2. And it says there are 3 cars in each train. So here's your 1 train, your 2 train, and your 3 train. So the question becomes, how many seats are on the train? So in the original problem, we've got 3 times 2 times 2. So to show us that we understand how to work through this problem, we would say 3 times, all right, well, this would be 4 because 2 times 2 is 4. So we would say 3 times 4 is 12. So we would find out that there would be 12 seats in the entire roller coaster. And we can verify that just by counting our picture, 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12. But the associative property tells us that we can actually move the brackets and put other numbers in a group. So instead of the 2 and the 2 being in the group, we're going to put the 3 and the 2 in a group. So we're changing the grouping with the parentheses. So we're saying that 3 times 2 is 6, and 6 times 2 is 12. So either one of these ways is possible to do with this problem. It just depends on what works best for you. And that's what the associative property is about. So if we move to the next page, we had done another example up towards the top. And so we can use the commutative property and the associative property. Really, basically what we're doing is we're trying to show the difference. So in this particular problem, you're going to see the 4 times 3 times 2. Now, when the problem's been rewritten, notice that the numbers did not actually move places. The only thing that moved was the actual bracket, the grouping. So instead of the 4 and the 3 being in the bracket, the 3 and the 2 is in the bracket. So the problem becomes 4 times, and I know that this would be 6, so my answer would be 24.